everybody, and welcome to this workshop. So this workshop is for Cruinniú 2021, and we will be making some paper circuits. So we are here on behalf of DLR Libraries, Dunleary Rathdown Libraries, and we'd just like to welcome everybody, and we have sent out some maker kits to you in the post, so hopefully you have those with you and ready. So just a little bit about ourselves. My name is Chris Reyna, and I'm with a company called MakerMeet.ie, and we provide STEAM-based workshops to students and schools and teachers around the country. And STEAM, just in case you didn't know, was an acronym for science, technology, engineering, arts, and maths. And these are all subjects that are quite important to learn about. And we try and do workshops that incorporate many of these. And today's workshop will be no different. We will incorporate a number of things in that. We will certainly incorporate, perhaps not science per se, except for electronic science, a little bit, tiny little bit of technology maybe, tiny little bit of engineering, very tiny, some art if you want to color in your workshop, color in your card that you got, my apologies, and some mathematics as well based in the background. So there'll be a combination of various different things that we're going to go through during the day, but mostly will be electronics. So you're going to need a few things with you. So if you want to dig out the envelope that you would have received in the post and get that ready, I have a desk here in front of me as well. So what I'm going to do is I have an overhead camera here as well, and that would probably be the best way for you to follow along with me. So if you want to dig out what you have, what I'll do is I will swap to my overhead camera. We'll talk a little bit about what we have here, and we'll go through some of the things, and then we'll start to build the project. So the whole thing should take somewhere between maybe half an hour and 45 minutes, something like that. And afterwards, hopefully, you will have a lighthouse that will light up, and you'll be able to save your ship. So let me swap over here to my overhead camera. So here I am, as you can see, and over here I have, just as you should have as well, an envelope. So this envelope should be kind of what you got in the post. It might be a slightly different color, but they're all the same. We just chose different colored envelope because, well, we like different colors. So I'm going to open my envelope and we'll have a quick look and see what's in there. So I have this. Now, it might be advantageous actually is if I decide to maybe zoom in here a little bit. That might be a little bit more useful. You can see a little bit better then. So what I have here is I have a save the ship card. I have a save the ship card. And if I open this and we have a look inside, I'll notice that there's a few things about this. Now, the first thing is there is this little bulb that's in there, this tiny little bulb. And this bulb is going to be very important. So I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. I'll put that over here, not too far out of the way. And then the only other thing that you might need, and this isn't here, so let me check the envelope, and I suspect it's still in the envelope. So if I tilt it, yep, I can see that's popped out there. And what I have here is the battery also that we need. So this is the battery that's going to light our light here. So I'll put that there for a moment. And then the only other thing that we're going to need to complete this is maybe two things. And one of those is, and I have those over here, some sellotape. Okay, so I have some sellotape there. And then the only other thing you might need is a pen or a pencil. So I have a pen here, but I also have a pencil here as well. So I have a pencil, I could use that, and you'll notice that on my pencil I have a pretty sharp point on my pencil. So that might be something that you might need as well. And that's just gonna work just because we're gonna make a hole in this card, and I'll show you that in just a moment. All right, but I also have another tool here, which is just in fact made especially for that. So there's a really, you can see that, I'm sure. There's a very sharp point on that. So I'll be using that maybe in just a few moments. So let's have a look at our card. So let's have a look at the outside just for the moment. So we have Save the Ship on the outside. So I've designed this card so that we have a lighthouse here and we have a ship down here. And this ship looks like it's in quite a bit of trouble here because there's a lot of waves and a lot of the ocean, and that ship looks like it might be coming close to the lighthouse and the big rocks here. So we need something to tell that ship that it's too close to the lighthouse and too close to the rocks so that the ship can turn away. So the ship can turn away. So you can color this maybe a bit later. I'm not going to color mine at the moment because I want to get stuck in to the project with you. So I'm going to just open this up, and inside we have a few things here. Now, so if you look at this, okay, you'll notice that there's some shiny bits here. Okay, you'll notice that there's some shiny bits all the way around here. Okay, so those shiny bits are a special kind of tape, and it's just copper. So it's copper tape. So copper is kind of the same thing that your pennies and your 2-cent and 5-cent are made out of. Okay, so copper, and copper is conductive. So copper is conductive. Now, all that means is that copper can conduct electricity or power. So I just want to talk about that a little bit, and what I'm going to talk about is actually kind of written here for you as well, so you can have a quick look at that. So there's kind of two different kinds of power, and this is very important to know as you get older, because power can be dangerous and you just have to know how to handle power. The same as, you know, I'm quite sure, not to touch things that are very hot, not to go near animals that are growling at you or barking at you, because you might get hurt as well. And you just need to be careful in any of those situations. So the first kind of power that we're going to talk about is DC. So DC power, and DC just stands for direct current. And that's what batteries use. So DC is direct current. And all the kinds of things that use batteries are things like like mobile phones use batteries, torches and flashlights all use batteries, and all of those use DC power. So anything like that uses DC power. Okay. Now the other kind is AC power, and AC just stands for alternating current. And that kind of power is the kind of power that you have in your homes and your schools and your workplace and businesses and things like that. And that power can be a little bit dangerous. That's the power that's in your wall. And that can be very high current. And that kind of current can be dangerous, and you just have to be careful using that. But that's not what we're going to be using today. We're going to be using this battery here. And this battery is DC current, so direct current. And this is not dangerous at all. So you can see, I can pick this up, I can hold it in my fingers, I won't get a shock or anything about it. Okay, nothing bad about this battery at all. It's very easy to use. The same a little bit as batteries perhaps in your remote control for your television or things like that. Okay, so this battery is a 3-volt battery. So this has 3 volts. And I'm not going to go into a big complicated discussion about how much voltage is in one thing and how much voltage is in another. Just, it's worth knowing that this is a 3-volt battery. Now, it's also worth noting, normal batteries that you would be used to are batteries a little bit like the AA batteries that you would have, again, as I mentioned, in your remote controls for different things. So those AA batteries are 1.5 volts each, and there's usually 2 of them in a remote control. And 1.5 and 1.5 is, of course, 3. So those 3 volts are the same as this battery here. All right, same as this battery here. Now, the AC current, the alternating current that's in your house, in your walls, okay, that power is 230 volts of power. And that is very, very, very dangerous. And you should never play around with that power at all. That is extremely dangerous, that power, that 230 volts in your wall. Very, very dangerous, okay? So don't ever play around with that. So just as another couple of tiny factual pieces of information, it was Thomas Edison that invented DC, or direct current, and it was Nikola Tesla that invented AC, alternating current. What's in your homes, okay? What's in your homes? So now, I just want to start doing things now. So let's have a look at some of the things that we have here. So I'm just going to take the card and put it over here for a moment. And we're going to have a look at our battery first. So let's have a look at the battery first. So I'm going to actually put that in my hand, and let's hold that up to the camera so you can see it. So one side of the battery has writing on it. And you'll see that that says plus at the very top, and then lithium cells CR20323V for 3 volt. Okay, and the other side of that, it has nothing written on it at all. But if you feel it, it feels a little bit rough. Feels a little bit rough maybe there. That feels a little bit rough. So the side here that has the writing on it, that has a plus on it. The other side that feels a little bit rough, okay, that's the minus. That is the minus. So power and voltage has a plus and a minus sometimes. So let's have a look at our other component here. And this is a little LED bulb. So this is a tiny little bulb. This bulb is pretty much exactly the same as any bulb that you would see. Let's say maybe again, I used the example before of your television. So on your television, there's a little tiny red light, and sometimes on other things, you can see little tiny power lights on those things. And so those lights are exactly the same as this bulb here. Those lights are exactly the same as that bulb there. So before we do anything else, okay, before we introduce the lighthouse and the card, I want you just to try this as a test. So grab your bulb and just have a quick look at it. So let's see if I can position this correctly so you can see it a little bit better. So hopefully you can see there that one of the legs of the bulb is a little bit shorter than the other, and one of them is a little bit longer. So the longer leg is the plus, and the shorter leg is the minus. So you can maybe remember that by thinking that shorter is a little bit less, so that's going to be the minus. Okay. Now, if you remember, our battery also has a plus and a minus. So if you take the 2 legs of your bulb and you just slide it on the battery, just like that, you can see what's happened there, that it has lit up. Okay, I'll just put my hand there so you can see. So you can see that that has lit up, and I'm just holding it with my fingers on the battery. Now, if you turn it over and put it on the wrong way, and I grab it, nothing happens. But also, it's just worth noting that nothing bad will happen either. The bulb won't blow or anything like that. I put it back on, you can see the right way. You can see that the bulb lights up again. All right, so already you have done some electronics work with just a battery and just a bulb. So these are both things that are kind of readily available. Certainly the battery you'll find almost anywhere. The bulb, perhaps not so much. The bulb, generally you have to order that from perhaps somewhere on the internet. So I'll put these over here just a little bit, and let's have another look at our card. Okay, so again, we had the copper tape here and all the way along here. Now you'll notice there's a little break here, and then it goes up here, over, down, and there's a break here, and then it goes down to here and back to here. Now, the first thing is this break here. Okay, so you don't have to do anything with that, but if you see the tape here, you'll notice that if you carefully close that, and let's see if we can do this. If you can carefully close that, you won't be able to see it because of course it's going to close, but if you do it slowly, you'll see that that tape is just about to line up with the tape on the other side. So it's actually going to make the connection between here and here. So this tape is going to make the connection between here and here. So that's going to actually act like a switch. That's going to act like a switch. Okay, so then that power is going to run up here, over here, and down to here. And it's also going to run from here and over here and up to here. So what goes here? Well, there's a little yellow circle there, and I think you probably already know, because it's written here, that this bulb, we're going to make a little hole in there, and we're going to push that bulb through to the other side, and on the other side of that dot is our lighthouse. And that's the bit that we want to get to light up. Okay, so that's the bit that we're going to get to light up. Now, I'm going to have a quick look and see. Nope, nobody has any questions. I probably should have mentioned, or perhaps I did mention, but I'll say it again, that if anybody has any questions or comments, or I'm going too fast, just let me know. You can put it into the chat on the live stream in YouTube. Okay, you can put it onto the chat in the live stream on YouTube, and I will check the chat here from time to time. Now, so just before we move to the bulb, let's have a look down here at the very bottom, and you will see just under that, under this tape here, if I lift that up, okay, if I lift that up, you can see that that shouldn't be stuck, and hopefully it isn't, and there is in fact a little bit of paper underneath of this copper tape, and you can see here that there's another break here, but the tape runs over, and hopefully you can see just above here there's a little plus. So that's just going to tell us that there's also a plus here, and we want that plus to match all the way over to the plus here. So we're going to take our battery, and it's going to fit right there. And we're going to take off this little piece of paper here, and we're going to fold that down, and that's going to hold our battery there to the plus. So that just means that this battery is going to have the plus side here, which is going to touch this tape, which is going to run to here until it breaks, and it's going to run all the way around to the plus here. And it's not going to light until we use our switch by closing over the card, And the same is true on the other side. So the bottom of the battery, if I turn that over, that's the minus, and that's going to go here, and that's going to go right up here and right up here to here. So if you see the little minus sign right there, okay, so that's what we're going to do with the battery. But before we do that, let's put our bulb in place. So if you want to get either a pencil with a nice sharp point, or even just a pen, okay, even just a pen, anything to poke a hole is really what you want, anything to poke a hole in your paper. Now, as I said, I'm going to use my little tool here. So I have a tool, and this is made specifically to poke holes in things. So the very first thing I want you to do, and I want you to be quite careful when you do this, if you're using something sharp, of course you don't want to put your finger under it and poke through, because you will poke a hole in your finger, and that clearly would hurt a lot. So do not do that. So be quite careful when you do this. So you're just going to go to the little yellow dot here, and you're going to push through. And what I suggest is, if you turn whatever you're using, a pencil or a pen or anything, if you turn it and just push very gently and then turn it, it will eventually go through like that. Okay, so you just want to make a little hole there. That's it. That's all you're going to do. You're just going to make a hole. And when you're done, take your pointy object and put it away, so that we do not need that any further. So now you're going to take your bulb and you're just going to push that through the hole so it comes out the other side. And hopefully you can see my bulb has come through the other side. Now we're not done yet. So remember the legs that we looked at? So if you remember, those legs, let's see if we can see that a little bit better. Yeah, so those legs, one is shorter and one is longer. So this is where you have to pay attention just a little bit, okay? So the shorter leg is going to go down here for the minus, and the longer leg is going to go up here. So what you're going to do is, I want you to grab your bulb and I want you to bend the legs to either side. So nice and carefully, you don't have to do it really hard. They'll bend quite easily. The wire is very thin, so don't break the wire. So I know that this bit here is the shorter side. So I'm going to bend that out like that. And then I'm going to take this side and I'm going to bend it the other way. That's the longer one, and that's the plus. There we go. So I have bent those two out, just like that. I think you can see that probably. So I have bent those two out. So now I'm carefully going to take my bulb and I'm just going to put it back into that hole that I made for the lighthouse. And at this point, it might be worth just pushing it all the way through and grab either side, pinch the card like that, and just give it a little tiny bend. And what that's going to do is that's actually going to hold it. So you can see I can shake that now and it doesn't move. And that's only because I have actually bent that card just a little bit. You can see there, I have bent that a little bit, and that's going to hold it in place. So that means that each of the legs of the LED are going to touch my copper tape. They're going to touch my copper tape, okay? And just to make sure about that, I might bend them out a little bit more, because I want to make sure that they make contact, because if they don't make contact, my project won't work, okay? And then, just to make sure it all stays together, I'm going to get a little bit of tape, and I'm going to put some tape across that, and I put a little bit of tape on the other side as well. Now, I'm going to do something else. I'm very fussy when I do projects like this, because I just know how well they work. So you can see the tape that I've put across there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my thumbnail, and I'm just going to run it right along the leg of the LED, and I'm going to push down really hard on that tape to make sure that's holding really, really well. And that is going to let me be absolutely sure that my bulb will light up. So I'm just going to push down really hard, push that tape down really hard. So now, let's go back to the next section, which is our battery. So don't forget, what we said is, for our battery, there is a plus So let's hold it up there again. So there is a plus. So the side with the text is the side that has a plus on it. Okay. So the side with the text is the plus, and that faces up. That faces upwards. So we can put that right there, and it doesn't stay, but that's okay. So right here, for this little bit of tape here, we can see there's a bit of white paper holding that. So I'm going to peel that off nice and carefully. Let's see if I can get my fingernail under there. I don't have very good fingernails, but yep, there we go. I got it, I think. Yep. So there we go. We put that out of the way. And that's sticky at the back. So I'm just going to push that over here on top of my battery to hold that battery down like that, just like that. And again, I'm just going to rub down a little bit just to make sure that that is sticking very well. And one thing you might notice is that if I do this, now the battery flops up, and it obviously isn't making any contact there at all. So I think our sellotape might be needed again. We might just take another bit of sellotape and just put it on here just to hold that battery nice and tight. Once again, nice and tight to the tape below it. Nice and tight to the tape below it. Now, okay, so we have nearly completed our project. Not quite, but nearly. Okay, so now we have our LED with a shorter leg right here. In fact, I'll use a pencil, it's easier than my finger. So we have the shorter leg right there. Okay, in fact, I'll move that up a little bit closer, it's much easier to see. So we have the LED with a shorter leg here. That is making contact all the way down here and over here to the underside of the battery here. And then we have the longer leg of the LED, the plus, and that is making contact with our tape, which is making contact here, all the way over to here and down to here, where there's a little break in here, and then it comes down here and up and over onto the top, the plus of the battery here. Now, when we shut our card, this tape should bridge the contact between these two areas here. Okay, so it should bridge the contact between those two areas. And if it all works, then we look over here and that should light up. Now, I haven't shut it yet, so it hasn't lit quite yet. So now, I still haven't done it. I'm going to grab the two sides of this and up. There we go. We have lit our lighthouse, and I believe that we have saved our ship. And if I let go of my left hand, it goes off. And if I squeeze it again, it comes on. So hopefully you have experienced exactly the same thing. Okay, so hopefully you have experienced exactly the same thing by getting your light on your lighthouse to turn on and turn off. Okay, and this is a circuit made mostly from paper, maybe not entirely from paper, but mostly from paper. So this tape, again, is something that you can get if you want to try some more experiments. It's not very easy to get. Again, it would be something you would probably have to order maybe off the internet. However, there are a number of other things, substitutes that you can use. So you can buy metallic tape in some I suppose some stationery stores and some hardware stores. Probably hardware stores is probably a better place to find kind of silver metallic tape, and that will also work. The other thing that you can use, and especially this time of the year, you'll find in garden centers, is something called slug tape. Okay, it's called slug tape, and it's kind of a thing. It's a thing that you would put on the ground to, I suppose, to dissuade slugs from crawling into your bushes and your trees and perhaps your flowers. But slug tape is also copper, because slugs do not like copper, the same as they don't like salt. There's certain things they don't like. So that tape also is copper, and you can use that. And if you can't find any of that, I absolutely would be sure that you could find tin foil, aluminum foil. Okay, and you certainly will have that. You might even have that in your homes at the moment. And that foil is also conductive. And I keep using that word conductive because those are things that conduct electricity. And that is what we are doing here. So even if we close this loosely, but we don't quite shut it yet, until I pinch my bits together, and then we get our light to light up. Now, clearly, the project is not as interesting if you don't have these little LED bulbs. Okay, so the best place that I have found to find those little LED bulbs is usually on Amazon, or if you shop on Wish or Banggood or lots of other places like this, you can import those bulbs, and they are very, very cheap. Generally, you can get somewhere around 250 to 500 for somewhere between €3 and €5, something like that. So they're very, very cheap. You can get quite a lot of them, and you can do lots and lots of projects with them. So we've done a Save the Ship project. But what I would recommend, especially as, let's say, Father's Day is coming up, is you can make your own cards. I made this card for you to try out to show you how it works, but you can make your own cards. So if you do any design you want on the front, and you can push through, just like we did here, you can push through the bulbs to the other side. Then you can make things like, let's just say it was Father's Day, you could make a heart here, and you could put a bulb through there. And these bulbs come in different colors, by the way. So we have a clear one here, and you might have a different color one. I think that we use different colored bulbs in ones that we sent out to you. So you might be able to find some different colored ones. If it was Halloween, then perhaps you could make a ghost figure with 2 eyes, or even a pumpkin figure with 2 eyes that light up. If it was Christmas, well, I think you can probably guess if it was Christmas what you might do. I think an ideal thing that you could do is do a picture of Rudolph and get his red nose to light up. And that would be another good project you can do. And these projects are all very simple, very cost-effective projects to do. They won't take you very long. Probably you can see we've just done this. Let's see, yeah, in just maybe over a half an hour, a little bit. And yes, I did some of the preparatory work here, but you can do that as well. And I think that all of that might take you just another half an hour. So in about an hour's time, if you have all of your materials, you can make your own projects. Not necessarily Save the Ship, but any other kinds of projects like that. Now, let me just pop back here. So I hope that you enjoyed that project. I hope it was a good project and you had fun doing that. So if you have any questions, please, you can throw them into the chat. I'll just have a quick look here to see. No, I don't see anything else in the chat at the moment. So, but if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them into the chat. Feel free to throw them up onto social media. We are at MakerMeetIE, MakerMeetie, on everything, really, on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram, certainly. And feel free to ask any questions and show us your projects. We would love to see your projects as well and how you've completed them. And also, if you want to send them into DLR, Dún Laoghaire Rathdown Libraries, for Cruinniú, I'm sure that they would love to see them as well. So, again, if you have any questions, you can also, of course, email me. My email is chris, CHRIS, @makermeet.ie. And you can go to our website, www.makermeet.ie. And we are makers, and as I say, we make things, and that's what we do. We try to make kind of fun, simple projects that have just a small bit of learning in them and things like that. So I have we have one comment popped up here. Someone's just thanking. That's great. You're all very, very welcome. There's a few people thanking me there, Valerie and Deirdre. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and I hope it was a bit of fun. And as I say, please feel free to explore further, because these projects are not really very complicated projects, and they do give especially young people a bigger sense of the world and a bigger sense of understanding how things work. And clearly, as we all know, once we know how things work, it makes them a little bit less scary, and it also makes them a little bit more fun. So for me, I will sign off for the moment, Chris Rena, and we always kind of sign off the same way, which is pretty much, and I'll hold that up there, the back of our card. As you can see, that's the way we sign off always, which is engage, explore, and as always, enjoy. So